Welcome back to episode 2 of the Future Film Podcast. It's Robert Fitzhugh here from the Dublin Smartphone Film Festival and the now Future Film Podcast. If anyone's just tuning in, you are enjoying that stylish background music that was created by yours truly. This entire podcast, in keeping with the theme, has been created on a mobile phone using every device at my disposal. That beautiful tune you're hearing in the background is from an app called HomeTap. And I have been humming the tune and then turning it into a jingle for the podcast. I think it worked out pretty well. Welcome back. It's episode 2. And this week we are speaking to filmmaker Alexandra. Oh my God, I'm so sorry if I pronounced this wrong. Guillossou? Oh, I'm sorry. I really am. Alexandra, I really apologize if I got your name wrong. And we are talking all things smartphone filmmaking, and particularly we're talking about running the festival circuit and what it's like to be a first-time filmmaker out there in the modern festival circuit, how they get on, highs, lows, reactions. So hopefully you enjoyed the chat. Hi, guys. Alexandra?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. Yeah, sorry, I was sending you the wrong thing.
Okay.
I was clicking the wrong button and I was assuming that it was a fault on your end, but no, it was mine. How are things for you?
Things are great.
Great. What time is it there?
It's 2:48 p.m.
Okay. Wait, what? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay, not a.m.
Yeah.
Sorry, for a second
PM.
I thought it was 10 to 3 in the morning. I was like, well, you look pretty fresh-faced for 10 to 3 in the morning.
Yeah, whenever I had to talk to International Mobile Film Festival, because they're in San Diego.
Yeah.
That's when I have to do the 1 a.m. phone calls.
Why, where are you based?
I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm in the middle of the country.
Yeah. So what's the time difference there? It's like 7 or 8 hours?
2 hours. It's 2 hours between us and San Diego. But if she likes to do a phone call at 10 p.m. then I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I did. I was on her podcast, or I was on a podcast once. I think it might have been hers, and I had to log on at 2 in the morning, and then the connection was really bad, and there was a storm or something, and it wasn't usable in the end, and it was. I was talking to myself for ages. I couldn't hear anything. So, but no, anyway. So, before I get into a bit about yourself, I just want to explain what it is I do. I know you got a random request here. What I do is I every Thursday night, I like to talk to filmmakers. It's sort of like a live podcast type thing. And I talk to filmmakers from around the world. And then what I do is I people can play this back afterwards. And then I take the audio and I'm actually flashing it into a podcast. So I'm actually making episodes for a future podcast out of it. So in like 3 to 4 weeks time, I'll have content to start loading out a thing. But I really like live video. I like chatting to people live. So I figured I would just do it every Thursday and kind of keep a regular cadence and just talk to people. And I just think it's a great way to connect. I wanted to do more live, and I went live as a test. I ended up talking to a filmmaker from Nigeria for ages, and then after that I was kind of hooked, so I figured I would just do it.
That's great. I love this platform.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. It's a bit of fun. But I'm in my tiny office, and I have a massive light shining in my face. But you have wonderful natural light coming from somewhere. Are you?
I see there's a window right
nice.
over here.
Look at this. DIY filmmaking right there.
Yes, I pretty much never use lighting. I try to use natural lighting as much as I can.
Really? It's funny because I want to do that, but then when I shoot video, I shoot a lot of kind of tutorial type things. So I generally just tend to flood it with light so I don't have to think about it. Because they're normally kind of corporate-y kind of things, so I just flood it with light and then I don't have to worry about. I have no control over the rooms I shoot in either, so there's windows and stuff like that, and it's just a pain. So I generally tend to just kind of control everything. It keeps it easy for me. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can get in and get out very, very quickly. But
see, that's the thing. I'd probably mess it up because I don't know how to control it if I have the control. Yeah. But if I'm in a situation where I just know the natural light and how it's working, I'm like, perfect. This is the way I'm going to do it.
So you shot, just out of curiosity then, The Deepest Cut was your first kind of, for everyone who's listening in, Alexandra shot a really, really powerful documentary called The Deepest Cut that you have seemingly submitted and got into every single festival in existence from the last year. I mean, you kind of really... You really shopped it around and got into a lot of festivals. Sorry, before I get into that, The Deepest Cut, that was all natural light, that was all shot?
Yes. And
did you know this?
Go ahead.
Did you know the subject? Was it someone you knew and you were able to get access to their house and stuff? Okay, so
yes, it was family. It was that was my family, and for years I had wanted to tell the story of my brother because I was watching every year as his health was declining, and I thought it's too important to let this go and not share this. And so what I did was I actually was really sneaky. We were visiting at my parents' house, and I wanted to ask him. I brought my microphone and everything, but I was sneakily taking film of him all the time while I was there. And it wasn't until the very last day of his visit that I said, hey, look, I really want to do a video that talks about what you're going through. Would you be willing to do it and just talk about your experience? And he was 100% on board. And I think the most impactful thing for me was the fact that I got over an hour's worth of testimonial from my family. I mean, they opened up like I never would have expected.
And then
and then I realized I had really, less, a little more than 5 minutes worth of video. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do?
I should have shot more. Yeah. So did you go back and shoot more then, or did you just use the 5 minutes? Did you just use the 5 minutes?
5 minutes. Yeah.
That's incredible because the movie's very, very moving, and you did get very honest conversation. I could not imagine my parents kind of being that honest and that kind of open, but then my parents are kind of Irish, so they're very much emotionally shut off, but I couldn't imagine them being that open about a subject. But I suppose if they're never asked, I don't know, my parents might be if they're asked, you know what I mean? But
well, here's a trick because my family doesn't talk about that stuff either. I had no video. I just had a microphone in a room and said, look, I just want you, I turned it on and I said, just tell me who you are and, tell me, for each one and their relationship to my brother. And then tell me about, growing up with it, him growing up with this and your experience with it. And that was it. That's all I had to say. And I think because there wasn't a camera
in their face. Yeah.
They felt, it literally was like, those MTV shows of long ago when people used to go into the little closets.
Yeah, little testimonial type things. The confession room. That was it.
They just went to town confessing, and it was.
And you didn't have to cut any of that up. You just got lump sums of conversation. You were just able to say. I had
lump sums, and I had to just go through. And so the first edit was probably 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I realized I didn't have enough video, that's when I had to go in again and cut. So nice. I was happy I was able to still keep a kernel of a story with so little time.
But it is great that your brother comes, you shoot like 5 minutes worth of footage, and from that you're able to craft a documentary. Just by kind of, I've got this footage and now I just need stories to link it together, and then you've got something that's seemingly, how many festivals did you submit it to?
I've submitted it to 29 festivals.
And how many did you get into?
about half.
Okay.
So I guess that's good. I don't know.
That's really good. I mean, most people submit to like one, get rejected, and then give up and move on. But I mean, you took by most people, I mean me. But you seem to it seems to have legs. Like you've been that's been what, 2 years? Was it a year and a half, 2 years?
Oh, it was just a year.
It was a year. It feels like way longer. But and it's still in contention in certain festivals and things like that.
It is. I think there are 4 more that I'm waiting on. And my husband actually is the one that told me to stop. He's like, okay, it's time for you to make a new video and put this one to bed. And I was like, okay.
But still, 29. I mean, I would go for 56 at least and then call it a day. And 56 is a nice, crazy number to go for. But no, 29 is and to get into half that is quite an achievement. And they weren't all smartphone festivals. There was a mix, wasn't
No, they weren't. I totally went for it. I started out with smartphone film festivals and said, well, you know what, let's see how this does against, everybody else. And what was surprising is I didn't always enter in the mobile film category.
Yeah.
I oftentimes tried to enter it in documentary short. And so it was really surprising when I got into those festivals, because I was going against people with really nice cameras and, you know, a lot of time and crew and all of this stuff.
A common conversation we have on these is about that. Is because your audience at those things probably didn't know what it was shot on. Right. Probably didn't realize that it was shot on the phone, because, you know, if the story is compelling and you the interviews you got are engaging, people won't even notice. So you're competing based on the power of your story, I suppose, not the visuals that you're presenting. So that would make sense for it to get into documentary stuff. It's surprising that, like, some people, I might have thought you might have hedged your bets by entering into the smartphone round, because the category, because it's like with the Dublin Smartphone Film Festival, a lot of people enter fiction. When really, if they were to enter music video, or, you know, if they were to stretch it a little bit, there's less people submit to those categories, so there's more chance for your film to be seen and stuff like that. But a lot of people just either enter fiction or documentary, and sometimes some of these fictions have music and they're maybe music based, but they don't want to call them music videos because they're not. But there's a small potential chance that the pool is smaller for music videos, so you may be able to get it in there. But yeah, it's interesting. But how did you find the festival experience? Because you're someone who's been, I've noticed online, who kind of talks a lot about festivals, getting into festivals. How did you, because it was your first time entering.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea. But.
No, I thought it was interesting because it was nice to hear it from the other side of kind of how did you find it? Like from the whole process, from start to getting in, did you have any kind of bad experiences, good experiences?
Overall, the experiences were very good.
Yeah.
I think there are a few big things for me. The first one was that I was just entering stuff, right? Yeah. And I wasn't really paying attention to all of the requirements. I knew individually when I entered that, oh yes, I meet this criteria, let's enter. But I didn't look at it holistically. So there was one festival over the summer, which you might remember, that I was selected for, but I was entered into two festivals that had they called it sort of a premier status, and not outright, but somewhat suggested that. And I told the festival, I was like, well, I'm so sorry, I can't release my video until after these festivals. And they said, well, we're sorry. And then next thing I know, I was rejected. And I was like, oh. And it wasn't their fault at all. It wasn't. It was totally my fault for the fact that I just said, hey, let's just try all this stuff.
And see what happens,
And see what happens. And what I found out later was that when I talked to those other two festivals, they actually didn't require that for short films, but they don't state that in their rules and regulations. And so I guess I learned from that in the future, should I decide to enter a festival like that, I need to just be a little more proactive and just ask them outright and say, hey, you know, I have a short film. Is it okay if this is released? Because it would have been really nice to have been in that festival, because that one was a smartphone film festival, and there were people that I'd met at International Film Festival that were also selected for that festival, and I was just like, oh, you know, this is just a shame that you know that this happened, and it was pretty much my fault just because I just didn't know.
Well, I mean,
but now I do. So
you live and learn, I suppose. The premier status thing, I get. I suppose. I get it to a degree, but I don't. I suppose I'd look at it more from just because your film exists online, or just because you don't want your film to be released early. Really, it should be about kind of showing it to as many people as possible. Yeah. So it's not something we really concern ourselves with. It's not something I've ever put any thought into, really. I just assumed if you've got a film and you want to enter it, you want people to see it, then enter it and want people to see it. And I've never been in a scenario where I assume people won't come because they have access to films already. So sometimes we have films in the past couple of years that were shown, that were existing on YouTube already. And I suppose the fear was that people would be like, well, why would we bother going to the thing if we could watch some of them online? And I suppose you're there for the event, you're there to meet people, you're there to network, you're there to kind of thing. So there's a whole kind of thing that comes with it. So you don't get that same experience if you're just sitting at home watching a movie on YouTube.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not something I've ever really concerned myself with. But no, it's interesting. Just you're the only person who I know who's entered so many festivals, and you seem to always be entering things. And I was very, very curious from a filmmaker's perspective what you thought of that process. And you're saying it was quite positive for the most part.
It was. It really was.
Yeah,
and I spent the time, communicating with a lot of the festivals, and some of them, like yours, were just amazing. I mean, the fact that that you watched me long after your festival was over and continued following what was going on that says a lot. So I think there are a lot of festivals out there that talk about how they support filmmakers and the community of filmmakers. But I really found that there's probably a handful that truly do what they say.
Yeah, it's fun. That's funny because we operate on very little budget, and I know other festivals who do have that same kind of reach. But I mean, that's really all you've got. If you've got no money and you've got whatever, all you've really got is a community, and you know what I mean. And that's how you kind of interact, and that's how you build anything is through a community of filmmakers. So that's very important for us to be constantly like a year-long thing. It's not just a one-off event thing. It's like a year-long thing because we're trying to build a community. We're trying to build a community here in Ireland of filmmakers. I know there's some people who've joined this chat who are part of this kind of growing community. We're doing meetups and things like that. But it's just very important for us to have a community and for it to not just be like thanks for submitting a film and goodbye. But I understand that there's a lot of bigger festivals that really probably don't have the bandwidth to be able to interact with filmmakers to that degree. But at the same time, I think you lose something when you don't. I think people will still want to go to prestige. I want to get into Cannes. And the label of that alone and what that does for your film if you do. But if you're a smaller festival, I think it should be community based. I think it really should just be about kind of looking after the people who've kind of helped you at the beginning and kind of making sure that their projects get known and heard and stuff like that. And it doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't.
It takes 2 seconds online to retweet a thing. It doesn't take much at all. It's not much effort at all. But no, it's funny because some people have kind of bad festival experiences, and because you had entered so many, some people they don't get feedback or they don't hear back or their films aren't watched. And I was always just curious to know, because it was your first film, are you working on are you taking your husband's advice and going for a second film? Are you?
Yes.
She says how she submits to more festivals.
I know. So what happened was I had parted ways with a job I was with for 20 years because I really wanted to.
Yeah. This was you used to, because you what was that job? Because you were working.
I still am. I'm an exhibit designer, so I do so if you go to a zoo or an aquarium or a science center and you see the exhibits and the signage and that's the stuff that I do. But when I was at the place where I worked, I was really always pushing video because I said people are so visual, and I felt that the storytelling was far more compelling through video than through word and photos alone. A lot of clients always wonder why I was a designer when I tell them that I'm the last person to read a sign. And they went, well, why do you do this? And I said, because I can. And they went, well, and I tell them, if I can design something that gets me to read it, then I know that I'm going to attract a larger percentage of people because I'm like the majority of people, I'm not going to read it. And that naturally made me go to the next step of making it a video. So for several years, I would push it and say, let's do video. And I just start doing stuff on my own and saying, here, take a look at this and take a look at this. And eventually clients started asking for small teasers and teaser videos, and I was able to do that for them, and I was able to do some promotional stuff. And it was at the moment that I finally got to do, which I guess for me it was sort of like a 15 minutes of fame, even though nobody knows that I did it, was I put together a promotional video for the St. Louis Aquarium here in St. Louis, which is opening on Christmas. And
it's not open yet. Okay.
It's opening on Christmas, and I pitched it to the client, I scripted it, storyboarded it, cast it, directed it, edited it,
And you'd never done that before?
I didn't, all of it? No.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting something like 700,000 views, which, locally, which was great. And and then I got to meet John Goodman, and
did you cast John Goodman then?
The client knew John Goodman, and they knew a few other people, and they were talking about I want to say his name is John Hamm. I know everyone's going to be like, how do you not know him? But I'm sorry, but and a few other local celebrities, and I sat there, I was like, do you really think you can get John Goodman? And they said, yeah. So next thing I know, I'm in a radio station with him, and I was like, oh, this guy, I don't even know why I'm here, right? I mean, because he's a professional. What am I?
Yeah.
But sure
Imposter
enough,
syndrome. Yeah.
And sure enough, he needed me to direct him on how to say the script that I wrote. I mean, because the first time he read it, it sounded almost like, one of those typical voiceover voices for movie trailers or commercials. Yeah. And so I had to talk him through it line by line of exactly how I thought it should go. And he was so responsive and so nice. And in the end, it was funny when I edited his audio, I even still had to go in and kind of say, well, he said this word better, so I'm going to cut it out from here and put it in over here, and kind of stitched it back together. And I think it turned out really well. I
haven't actually seen it. I've just seen the pictures that you sent me, but I haven't actually seen the ad. I'll find it after this. I'll actually post it after this. Just if it's online, I'll find it and I'll post it.
It is online, yeah.
And you shot it with cameras and everything, and you had no background in it. You just kind of pitched it and went for it.
Yeah, I took a really big risk because I sat there at the client, looking at the client, and they said, "Can you do something that's like Disney?" And I said, "Yes, I can." And I never had. And I knew we couldn't because we obviously didn't have the budget and all that stuff.
But this is that whole client thing where they say they're like Disney, and you come back with what they can afford, and then somewhere in the middle you get like Disney Light.
Exactly.
That's incredible and very ballsy. Because I love that. There's a Richard Branson quote that I always remember where if somebody asks you to do something and you think you can do it, just say yes and then figure it out. So if you think you can do something, go for it. And if you can generally, if you think you can do something, you're willing to put in the time and effort to figure out how to do it. And a lot of times you probably know yourself, there's probably things about it that you would think, ugh, but no one noticed. And you'd be like, it worked out pretty well. But yeah, it's funny. That's incredible. And you went through that. And that's like trial by fire to learn that whole process from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Which part of it did you least like, and which part did you like the most?
I think the storyboarding was maybe my least favorite. And that was because in my head, I knew exactly what it was going to be. And I'd have people tell me, well, you have to storyboard. I was like, I hate drawing. I just, I used to draw, and one day I decided I'm not drawing anymore. Now you're telling me to draw again. I was like, I just can't. And I ended up storyboarding it by taking pictures. So I brought my husband and my daughter to the site. And I just made him do stuff over. And it's like, okay, now you're going to do this. And I take a picture, and I do this, and I take a picture. And that's how I put it all together. So, well,
that's whatever works for you. I find movie stills from other movies and I throw them into a storyboard because if I draw it, it'll make no sense to me later on. When I look at it, it doesn't make any sense. So I need to actually have a physical thing. But I just steal pictures from other movies and then add them in, and I go, well, I know it's going to look like this, and but as long as you find your process. But how long did the whole thing take you?
I think we had 4 weeks.
Wow.
To do this. So
and you edited, and you'd never edited before.
The editing that I had done was just stuff that I'd done on my own. So I learned in iMovie and then moved to Final Cut. Yeah. And then that was gone. And then, I had Premiere, and I was like, okay, now I've got to learn this thing. I was like, well, I can figure it out. I was like, how hard can it be?
Yeah, I got a couple of YouTube tutorials. And what's funny is you only need to learn what you need to know to get you You don't need to know the entire thing. You come to something, you go, how do I do that? And then you learn how to do that. And then you come to another roadblock. How do I? And it's piece by piece. You don't have to kind of wade into the whole. Because if you wade, Premiere Pro, I think I said before in other shows, I don't edit on my computer anymore. I edit on my phone. I edit everything on my phone. I haven't edited on my computer in years. But the reason with Premiere Pro, I used to love Premiere Pro, but I'd end up 4 days later, I'd end up trying to do something because I'd stumble upon a YouTube tutorial would play the next one. And it'd be something I didn't want to do, but if like, oh, it'd be cool to do that. And then I'd spend 4 days trying to learn to do that specific thing. And I realized that it was too much. So at least when I edit on my phone, it's streamlined to be exactly what I want from it. And then I don't, there's no kind of distractions, if you know what I mean. I'm easily distracted. But that's incredible that's so ballsy. I'm actually very impressed because I would fall apart. The stress of that would you? Yeah, I
seem to work better under stress.
Yeah, I'd be, if someone goes Disney, I'd be like massive gulp. Yeah, I think I can do that. And then I'd panic and outsource it to somebody else. But no, that's great. And they loved it. They didn't ask you to make major changes or anything like that.
No, they loved it. It was pretty much, first take. They loved.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, you left the exhibit design job to do it full time?
Yeah, because I had actually done another video for the company I worked for. And they had a cave that they had just built. So, like those rooms that you can project onto multiple walls.
Yeah.
And so they were having a big celebration and inviting clients and, former employees and stuff. And I was like, we should do a video. Now, I had never done this before either. So I was like, I can do this. So in a week, believe it or not, I made a video about the office. I scripted it. I found the employee that no one would have ever thought would have done a good voiceover. But I was like, he's got an incredible voice. So that I directed his voice. And I made this short film that was on 3 walls. And,
yeah, nice.
And everything bounced from wall to wall. I had a really good flow. And then I made the logo for the room and kind of art directed how the animation for it would go. And everyone was so excited, except a few people weren't excited. And I said, this probably isn't working out for us anymore.
Oh, really? So
a lot of times, do you ever notice that one of the big words out these days is collaboration? Everything's collaboration. We collaborate with people. And I was like, well, you know what? I did collaborate with people. And on the project, it took I only had to collaborate with maybe 2 people. But I think that's a collaboration, right? I mean, at some point...
Anyone outside you is a collaboration. If you're working with one person, you're collaborating, Right.
Well, this was a scenario where the belief was it needed to be a 10-person collaboration. I said, no, it didn't need to be a 10-person collaboration.
Oh, yeah, because then...
they were sort of like, well, that's the way we work. You need to do that. And I went,
then you're doing stuff by committee and everything slows down. And
everything slows down and it never turns out as well
as you'd want it to be,
as you want it to be. And I said, so I think that this isn't right for me. And so we parted ways. And after that, and that's when I said, well, I need to do something now. And I did The Deepest Cut. And
wow.
My husband was super supportive. He said, you can do this. He's like, I don't even want you to find other work. He said, I just want you to prove that you can do a video. And when I finished it, he was like, that's great. And I said, well, I think I should enter it in film festivals. He said, you don't need to. And when I entered it, yours was the first festival that accepted it. And he was like, that's great. That's fantastic. And I said, well, maybe I should enter it in another one.
He's starting to sweat because he's like, now get a job.
It's surprising. I'm always so surprised. He's the most supportive person ever. He has never said that to me.
Brilliant.
The only thing he's ever told me is, okay, I want you to do the next one. He's like, brilliant. I don't want you to talk about it. I just want you to do it.
Do it. Yeah.
And
that's incredible. And how long have you been then doing like one mouse creative? I got the name wrong.
Yeah, that's right. One mouse creative.
How long have you been doing that then?
So that's now been a year and a half.
Wow. And you're very, very happy?
Yeah, it's going well. I mean, in fact, sometimes I have too much freelance work that I can't get to videos. So I had to have those talks. My husband has to sit me down and say, okay, remember, you're doing this to make videos. You're not doing this to make money. You don't need to make money. And I'm like, that's right. But I feel like I need to make money.
But I'd imagine it's also difficult when people offer it to you and you're like, I don't want to say no. I don't want to say no. I don't want to say no.
Exactly.
Because I have my own business and I want to do training. I just want to train people. And every third person I meet is like, nah, I want you to do it for me. And I don't want to do it, but I don't want to say no to it. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. Because I see the future is in people being able to do stuff on their own. I don't necessarily see the future as in having people do it for them. But I still do it. But it kind of pulls you, the money is there, but it kind of pulls you away from your focus. And but I still do the training. But I like teaching. Teaching I really enjoy. Video work I don't enjoy as much. I can do it. I'm interested in it, but I just don't love it as much as training people how to do it.
So you're part of a film festival, and you don't like filming.
No, I do. I like. So when so it's funny, right? It's funny. I have a background in festival management. Okay, and I wanted to set up a film festival for years. And I went back to, I enjoyed film, I wrote about film, and I said, you know what, I'd love to make a movie. So I went back to study it, and within 20 minutes of the first day, I was like, I don't want to make a movie. I want to be a producer. I liked the whole fundraising background aspect of it.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's where the festival came from, because then I realized, there's a lot of talented people making film. I should either help them make film or find a place for them to be able to exhibit their films. And I found I was far more excited by that prospect, because I knew a lot of talented filmmakers and I would do anything to help them make stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do it myself. So I still do it. People ask me, I shoot all the time. But I would prefer, if you gave me a choice, I would say I'd just rather teach, because I always wanted to be, my entire life, I wanted to be a trainer or a teacher of sorts. And I didn't study it. And then eventually I kind of fell into this world, and I was in a position to be able to teach people stuff. And that's what I really enjoy. But for every two people who want to be trained, there's one person who wants it done for them. And because I have kind of my foot in two worlds, I can't say no to those people who want something done for them. So I'll do that as well. But my passion would be in training. And that's kind of what I really enjoy. And I'm starting to see that shift. Gradually, there's more people want to be taught than there is people who want stuff made for them, in my world anyway. And that's kind of working out well. But I still have a ton of videos that are being shot. Either I'm shooting them or I'm producing them, and they're all going on at different times. I do all the client stuff that everybody
hates to do.
But it's so funny because I have real patience for that. But I know people who don't, and I know people who would take offense to feedback, negative feedback from a client,
right.
And they'd be like, that guy, I'm not making those changes or whatever. I don't mind any of that. I don't mind that whole part of the process. I don't mind dealing with people and talking to them and kind of managing expectations. So that's...
Okay, well, I mean, it's because it's their vision that you're trying to achieve. It's, you're trying to help them create that vision.
I find that sometimes they don't know what their vision is until they see your vision. And then suddenly they know what their vision is. Yeah.
But usually that's the case.
But you've already kind of agreed on the vision that you handed them. So there's a lot of that. It's a very weird process because at the start, everyone's like, fantastic. It's amazing. It's great. And then they see it and they're like, yeah, that's not what we had in our minds. And I was like, but I showed you storyboards. We had conversations. You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought I was pretty clear. But yeah, it's funny. And then you've got to do this weird thing where you got to meet somewhere in the middle and after that. But it's a funny process. It's a funny job. But when you're doing... when you say you're doing freelance stuff, are you still doing design exhibits?
I still am, yeah.
For like everything and anyone, or
everything and everyone. So, last year I worked on projects in China. They were aquariums in China. And,
wow.
This year, right now I'm working on some zoo projects, and, I'll work on tiny things too, a small charter school in the city wants some signage done, I'll be like, yes, I'll do it. And I'm like, absolutely, because there's something, I don't know, there's something really satisfying about it too. I mean, I probably work more than I did before. I definitely make less than I did before.
Yeah, that's
the
way.
But the satisfaction is so much greater.
Yeah, for anyone who is watching, and I know there's some people watching who are self-employed, there is something I really like. I earn considerably less money, but for the same reason, because every time I leave the house or every time I get an email or a phone call or I meet someone, it opens a door or could potentially open a door to something else. And that's why I kind of find exciting. Well, when I worked a full-time job, it was always the same. Do you know what I mean? And there was no scope to go different directions or whatever. You were always kind of hemmed in, and you can go anywhere. And your really only limit is kind of how much effort you want to put into something. Now, I'm lucky. I don't have a family. You're saying you have a daughter, yes?
Yes.
How old is she?
She is 14. She actually starred in the Aquarium video, and she's going to... that one was actually funny because she assumed she was going to have the part. And I said, well, no, I really want to find the right, I want to find the right kids. And it turned out that no matter how many people I asked with kids, it's like, no. And I was like, well, it looks like you've got the job.
Yeah.
And she did great.
Yeah. You would think that parents would be throwing their kids and running it to be stars of an ad. Yeah.
You think that.
How did you find the casting process, by the way? Like, for the outside of your daughter, was there more people in it? How did you find that whole process? And
it was far more difficult than I imagined, because like you said, I thought that people would be jumping at the chance to have their kids in this video about this aquarium in St. Louis. Who wouldn't want that? And apparently no. I had to do a very long search just to find 3 kids to do what I wanted. And on top of that, I had to find diversity. Right? So sometimes it's really easy just to find kids, but you want to represent the community. Yeah. And so then that made it a little challenging too. But in the end, so I had 3 kids. My daughter was the only one that has taken direction from me, because for several of the promotional videos and teasers I had done for clients, she was actually the voice. Oh, cool. So I had directed her voiceover on several projects. So she was already comfortable with that, but these 2 other kids had 0 experience, and they did amazing. And so I think what I found was the person that was doing the cinematography, he said, you're just amazing with kids. I mean, you just seem to know exactly what to tell. And I was like, I don't know.
I'm a kid. I'm a parent, so I assume. If I didn't know how to talk to kids, we'd be in trouble. That's great, because I always hear I've never worked with kids, but I always hear it's tough. But I mean, if they take direction pretty well, and then it's great, like, do you know what I mean? And I suppose it's a short shoot as well. And there was just 3 kids in the ad. There was no one else. There was no.
That was it, and the rest of it was animation. And so the animation was done by people in the office who are fantastic. And so I had to direct exactly how I wanted each of those segments to flow, how I wanted it to look, because even though there were 2 people working on it, they both had a very different style. So I had to sort of bring the 2 of them together, even though they sat right next to each other. They would always nod their heads like, we get it. You don't get it because that looks like this and this looks like this, and it has to look like
you get what you get. You do the same thing all the time.
But I mean, they did an amazing job and made it really easy for me to stitch that part together. So
that sounds incredible.
It sort of starts as a reality thing of 3 kids and goes into a fantasy.
Just like Disney.
Just like Disney.
Just like you promised.
Because I didn't have like 50 people working for me, and
Yeah, but it goes to show you can do it like limited resources and kind of gumption and, things like proactivity. You know what I mean? It's the same with shooting on your phone. Like, how did you... So when you started shooting on your phone, you literally just had your phone handy and started shooting on it, or did you intend to capture these things? And how did you find doing that on your phone? And
I love it.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the people I worked with who's somewhat a mentor of mine that I met my last year at that job, he's a cinematographer, and he works on a red camera all the time. And the two of us get together and we do things. And I had done a behind-the-scenes video for a music video shoot he had done. He's like, "Oh, you've got your camera, but your phone." Every time I show him footage from my phone, the answer I get from him is "Damn, that's an amazing video." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
It's
so
funny, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's one of the photos that you see is he's shooting on his red, and I'm right behind him shooting on my phone. And, obviously the red is, a higher quality, but I actually got some really great stuff.
Yeah, and it depends on
my phone.
It depends on what you're doing with it as well. I mean, if it's behind the scenes stuff, and I mean, the way people are going to consume it and everything really plays into it. But I don't think, like, a lot of stuff that's shown at the festival, people wouldn't realize it was shot on a phone unless they... because they're at a festival that's for that. But a lot of stuff people don't realize. A lot of times it's filmmakers talking about how they would notice, but the audience doesn't really care as long as you got a really good story and really good audio. People don't seem to notice. So like there's this wonderful sweet spot at the moment where you can still defy people's expectations by shooting something on a phone and then go, look at this, and they're like, wow, that's on a phone. I would only imagine it's only a matter of time before that ends and people are like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? It's pretty obvious that that's shot on a phone. It looks great. I mean, I don't know, Filmic Pro has an update coming out at the end of the year, and you're going to be able, if you have an iPhone 11 and stuff, you're going to be able to shoot 3 setups at once with the 3 different lenses simultaneously. So you'll be able to shoot like multiple video all at once.
Wow.
And stitch it all together. So it's like, and you'll be able to shoot, if you're shooting an interview, you'll be able to shoot the main camera and you asking the questions simultaneously.
Really?
And then you can stitch them together. So you're going to have it'd be like this essentially, but filmed as an interview. And that sort of stuff, you're going to see that seep into stuff, and that's going to change people's perspectives and things like that. And I mean, I always say I'm on borrowed time because sooner or later, it's just going to become a filmmaking festival. Do you know what I mean? There's only so long I can kind of ride that out.
You know, I actually think it already is, because in the 1 year that I've been in film festivals, the quality of the mobile films, I mean, it just seemed like exponentially in a year. Yeah. Just, I mean, almost took me out of it. I really believe that. I mean, they're just, some of them are just so amazing. They're just so amazingly shot. And I was like, wow. I don't think I can compete with that.
But I think maybe it was for a long time people thought it was kind of niche and kind of amateur, and then I think a lot of professionals started looking at it, and then when they came in and people who had industry experience and stuff like that and started playing around with it, then you started to see kind of they were pushing it to as far as it could go, and now you're starting to see stuff that you wouldn't be able to tell. You know what I mean? When I started the festival, you could still tell. You know what I mean? But now, not so much. I mean, there's a documentary that's submitted to the festival about free divers in the Maldives, and it's shot on an iPhone using the Axis Go underwater rigs, and you would not know that is shot on a phone. That's incredible. Like, it's 4K footage, it's underwater, they're swimming with whales, and you would not know at all unless I tell you or somebody tells it. So you're starting to see that kind of, that people are treating as a serious filmmaking device, and I think that's kind of reflected in the stuff that's coming back onto the screen, which is great. You know what I mean? And now you're in this kind of world where people are looking at it and going, "Well, I have a phone, maybe I could do that," and then that's where that comes in. Do you know what I mean? Where people are like, "Maybe I can take a run at it," because they always say everyone has like a good book in them, but you know what I mean? You could grab your phone and make a movie. It might necessarily be good, but it's if I gave you a camera, you didn't know how to do it, you might be put off by it. But if I give you a phone, you'll at least be open to it because you understand how phones work. And then if it turns out that you're a storyteller, then you can take it from there. You know what I mean? But it's funny. It's funny because I've really seen a difference in the last 3 years, like a huge difference. It's crazy, but you know, we'll keep plugging. Maybe in or 2 or 3 years in or whatever, I'll just have to call it the Dublin Film Festival. But we'll see how that goes.
But that's evolution. I mean, that's I mean, think about all the people right now that, well, for example, my friend who's filming on the Red, I mean, he's like, mobile phones aren't serious. And I went, well, your camera wasn't serious. I mean, there was a time when those weren't serious, and you had to have the film in the giant cameras and all that stuff. It's just an evolution of the process. It's just, and one day, and I said, I don't believe that necessarily phones are going to just take over and you'll be out of a job. I said I just think it's going to morph into something new.
It'll be cameras that small, and and then it'll just become handheld devices. But it's funny because a friend of mine, Jer, left a comment there just to say that he just says, "Shut up, Rob. You love cameras, and you do, and you always will." And I distinctly remember having a conversation with him like 2 years ago, where when I started the festival, we were doing a photo shoot. I was with a bunch of the guys, and I kept saying, guys, drop your cameras, start using your phones. And they kept saying to me, well, cameras are going to get better. And I was like, well, phones are going to get better. And they're like, well, cameras will always be better. And I was like, are you telling me there's a world where you live in a world where no one's going to make a camera the size of a phone that will be as good as something else? Do you know what I mean? So eventually, they just will become tiny handheld devices, and whether we use them for phone calls or not. But the ideal being is that everyone will have one in their pocket, and everyone will be producing their own TV shows, which is already going that way as it is.
It is, yeah.
Now, you run into a system where who's going to watch all these TV shows? And it'll probably end up just being strangers shouting into weird solo echo chambers. But, that's a kind of a grim view of the future.
That's the future, too. I mean, that's the way kids are going these days. Kids get most of their entertainment off of YouTube now. And so this is the perfect format for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously older generation or adults and stuff like that are trying to kind of, because a lot of the teaching I do are people they're people who didn't, like, kids are grand because your 14-year-old daughter probably knows her way around the phone. Like, you know what I mean? And when I started the festival, I thought, it's going to be kids because kids love phones and kids love technology. But they already know everything. They already know everything from being online, stuff like that. So it's really people who spent the first half of their life with no phones and then have been kind of given it and told, learn this. And by the way, this is what it can do. And they're not really exposed to what people are using it for. So they're the kind of people who end up kind of picking it up and adopting it and using it because they tend to sort of understand it and want to know more about it, as opposed to kids. I taught a class of kids once, and we were picking edits on the big screen, and they knew more naturally about the language of cinema and editing just from... I was pick the next take, and they're like, oh, you picked that one. I was like, why? And they're like, oh, because this is this, and you want to understand what this. I went to college to learn a lot of the stuff that they just knew. You know what I mean? They just knew it naturally. A lot of it's to do. I always remember Vine years ago. Do you remember Vine? It was like 7 seconds. They got rid of it.
Oh no!
It was like a social media. It was like a social media thing where you could shoot 7 seconds of video. And people, you can see them on YouTube too. Yeah. But people came up with really inventive ways to do condensed storytelling in 7 seconds. And the amount of learning that people learned from that app before they got rid of it was how to do economic storytelling in 7 seconds. It was incredible. They managed to pack in like huge volumes of information in just 7 seconds. And I think that informed a lot of people's ability online and how they edit, like, because more and more people are becoming proficient with being able to edit footage. And when I was studying film, no one knew how to do it, and now people just naturally cut stuff together for social media. I have this app and I cut two things together, and you know what I mean, and they understand the language of it, which is incredible. Like, but yeah, I started to feel very, very old.
Me too. I remember when computers just came out, and I remember there were no cell phones, and I
do as well.
I had to tell people. I had to tell them there was a time there was no internet. What?
Yes,
there was a time it didn't exist.
In like the 1700s. You're like, no.
Right.
I remember. I still remember my first mobile phone was a Siemens. They used to call them blocky. They called them blockies as a joke, but they were these huge black handsets.
Oh, those giant ones?
Yeah. And I bought it off a friend of mine when I was 14 for £5 Irish, I think it was at the time. And the reason I bought it was because one of my other friends had a mobile phone, and we were kids, and every Friday night, we're 14 and we're moving around the neighborhood, we're moving around stuff like that, and I could never find them. And I'd go to all the spots, they weren't there. I'd walk all the way home. I'd ring the one guy on a mobile phone, and I'd be like, "Where are you?" He's like, "Oh, we're in that lane." And I'd be like, "Okay." And 20 minutes to the lane, they're not there because they moved somewhere else. And I got so frustrated with it that I bought a cell phone. And I remember everybody laughed at me. I brought it home. My parents laughed at me, and they said, "What are you going to use the phone for?" Because at the time, the only people that needed mobile phones were business guys.
Right.
And it's funny. And then after that, it just took off. And that was what? 20, I'm 35, so it's like 20 years ago.
So you see, I'm older than you, so yes. I'm really the one that's old.
Please,
no, actually.
Well, I've looked 40 since I was 10.
I'm actually over 10 years older than you. So, yeah.
You do not look 10 years older than me. I would argue that you look younger than me, and I am horribly ravaged by time. Trust me, when I was 19, people a lot older used to think I was like, hey, they used to think I looked really old when I was young. So I had a little moustache when I was 11, so I was screwed. Yeah.
Well, you could probably get into bars sooner than you wanted to.
In Ireland, yes. In the US, no. But they were strict. But I mean, I got turned away in a bar in Canada 5 years ago because I didn't have ID. It was me and a 6-year-old couple because none of us had ID. And
really?
Yeah, I've only been asked for ID.
That's when you sort of go. That's when you sort of go. Come on.
Yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. I think I've been asked for ID twice in my life. Twice, huh. And I was so surprised. I was like, "What?" But just before, because I better wrap this up because we're running on. But I was just going to say, what is your next project, or can you say that you're film-wise?
My next project that I didn't get into your festival that I'm working on is it's sort of a non-narrative documentary.
Yeah.
That speaks to 2 events that happened in St. Louis over the summer: the flood.
Yeah.
And also the other flood, which was the national championship winners of hockey, the Blues.
Oh, cool.
And it was the first championship they ever won.
Yeah.
And the city went crazy. So it's taking a look at that word flood in 2 different forms, looking at it in the human form and looking at it in the natural form.
Cool.
And it's really short, even though I took just ridiculous amounts of video.
You did the opposite this time.
Unbelievable. I have way more than I need, and I'm trying to edit it into maybe about 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
And then I'm working on, I have a scripted 10 or 15 minute short that I'm going to start filming in the spring.
Oh, so it's like a fiction, like you're going to do.
That one is a fiction, and it's going to be a pretty sort of hard one. That one's.
You're going to have to weigh into the world of lighting, aren't you?
No, I'm
okay, natural lighting. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That would turns out.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's perfect. If it's natural, if it's outdoors, it's set it all a day, it's great. No one wants to see stuff at night anyway. But no, that's incredible. So you're flat out. I was only listening to music today, and I was like, God, I'd love to make because I haven't made a fiction something in a long time, and I was kind of jonesing to be like, God, maybe I could just make something, and because I kind of would love to do something. I'd love to just make an action movie on my phone, just to do it, just to be like, I did it. But I don't know if I'd have the time. But maybe I'll start scripting after this. I like writing scripts on my phone because it seems less daunting. If I can just write it, it's like writing a text message. So maybe I'll start scripting something. Yeah, because it's great. It's the same. That's why I like editing on my phone, because it's kind of like if you told me I had to go and sit there and edit, I'd be like, ugh. But if you tell me I can do it on my phone while I'm watching TV, I'm like, yeah, all right. I'll edit for 20 minutes, and then 20 minutes turns out to be 4 hours, but I'm just kind of in it with headphones on, so I don't mind. But
I think that's really impressive, because I know someone that I met in San Diego. He did a 15-minute short on a mobile phone, and that he edited actually from a 30-minute film. And he uses his phone to do everything as well. But when he edits, he actually does it on an iPad. Because I asked him, I was like, how can you actually edit on your phone? I mean, yeah, phones are big, but they're still really tiny. And he went, oh, no. I do the editing on the iPad. But I'm still, he's still not using a...
I lost the password to my iPad, so I can't get into it. So that's why I don't use my iPad. But no, I use. If I don't know, I just got used to it. Like sometimes it depends on what I'm editing on. So I have an Android and an iPhone. So I generally tend to do social media stuff on my Android, and I tend to do all my filming stuff on my iPhone because I can shoot in 4K and I can export in 4K on the iPhone. I can't do it on the Android, which is why I don't use it. But if I'm editing on the Android, I generally tend to link it to my TV sometimes, and I edit on the TV. It doesn't give you any more real estate on your phone. You're still on your phone, but it just blows up.
Yeah.
But I kind of just got used to it. It doesn't really bother me. I just got used to it. I've been doing it for years, so I find it fast. So that's kind of the trade-off. I just pick it up and go, like, you mean. And I do video work and I do on-site edits. So I'll shoot it like I'd start at 9 to shoot. I'd finish the shoot at 12, and then I edit from 12 to 3 maybe on my phone, and then I give them the video at the end finished. But I wouldn't do that if I was on a laptop or something, because I'd have to transfer footage and all. But on my phone, I'll just pull up a desk, throw on headphones, and edit. So I just got used to it that way. I don't know. I have like computers. I was going to use DaVinci Resolve to edit something recently, and it's so funny. I transferred everything onto it, and then I kind of just picked up my phone and started editing. So because I would have had to teach myself. I didn't know DaVinci Resolve, and I knew how to do it on my phone. I was like, I'll just do it on my phone.
Yeah.
And then I
had to learn DaVinci. It's nice, but it's a little daunting. Like, again, I learned just what I needed.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's the same. Like, I have Premiere as well. But that Premiere laptop, that's on another laptop, is kind of slow. So I was like, I'll use DaVinci because it's free and it's quite robust for your free thing. And then I was like, I have to learn new stuff. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I just edited on my phone. Like, I'm editing a project now, and I have to get rough cuts in. And even before this call, I just transferred all the footage onto my phone and just cut them together really quick. And I've been putting it off doing it because I wanted to do it on my computer, and I was like, it needs to be done, I'll just do it. So I did it. I poured all the footage on. I got half the job done in 3 hours, and I'll finish it after this. But it would have taken me way longer to sit at my computer and do it.
You see, I think that's a really good sort of lesson. Not really a lesson, but just something that I probably should be doing more than. It depends on what. Yeah, I am. I
just kind of figured out a long time ago what my blocking points are. So if something like that would make me, I procrastinate. If I have to think about something, I'll procrastinate. So finding things that will stop me from procrastinating means I'll do it. So editing on my phone, I won't procrastinate. I'll just do it. But if you like learning DaVinci Resolve, I couldn't be arsed. I'll procrastinate. I'll get to it eventually. But So it's identifying things in your life that prevent you from doing stuff, and then finding ways around them. And that's kind of what I've been doing. That's why I don't shoot on my camera anymore. I like cameras. I do occasionally, but I have to take footage off it, load it onto a computer. I have to film it. I couldn't. Yeah. And again, it's all extra steps that I don't want to do that'll prevent me from doing it, so I tend to avoid it. One thing I always tell people is that when I'm asked to do photo shoots, I bring my camera with me, and I take all the photos on my phone. I edit them on my phone, and they just think I use my camera because I was holding it. And nobody notices.
So I'm kind of the opposite. I'm actually using a camera.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really important for me to learn more about really that full process of using a camera, it's sort of a science. Yeah, because there's definitely a science to photography and to cinematography. And, I've been told a lot of times that people have told me that I just seem to have a natural talent, but there's a ton I don't know. And it's sort of easy for me to pick up a phone and just shoot. But I enjoy the challenge of really trying to understand how a camera works. And so I have some cheap, Canon that I bought that's like really old, but and of course I was trying to make it easy. So I got, a nice sort of like Sigma lens, and then realized that I had these nice, really, really nice Leica lenses that my dad had given me a long time ago. And so now I'm like, so now I have the Leica lenses on, and that's all manual. So I'm from this entirely manual thing on this, digital camera that doesn't, so therefore it doesn't accept anything the manual thing is doing. And I just go to town. And there's a lot of stuff that comes out a little blurry because, I'm older and finding that focus is harder, especially when the lens isn't connected to a Leica camera, right? It doesn't have all the stuff working for it. But I think I'm learning just a lot more from that. I'm really starting to understand that the ISO and the focus and, all of the stuff that I didn't really have to think about before when I just picked up my phone and just did it.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. So I learned it all and then kept going, why do I need to do this when I can just do this? I was like, I understand it. I know how it works. But for me, it was so finicky and cumbersome. And I just wanted something that was fast. So I was like, ugh, and then I just switched to that. So I was the opposite. But yeah, I'd agree. Like you kind of, it's better that you understand it all. Then you can go and do whatever. But I just I just always looked at it as like somebody out there, like this guy really loves cameras. He seems to enjoy that. I don't. I like this, so I'll stick to this. But I think I remember I knew someone who's a photographer, a wedding photographer, and I said to her, I asked her a question about her camera. She's very talented. And I asked her a question about her camera, and I was like, what are you setting? She goes, I don't know. I just put it on sport mode and take photos. And she just takes photos. And she just takes tons of photos. And then she comes back with these incredible photos. And I was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. She just goes. Just use your phone.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like I think she's naturally creative, and I think she understands it all. She just doesn't want, can't really articulate it. She just doesn't want
to do all that stuff,
Exactly, and I was kind of looking for the science part of it, and she was just like, nah, I just put on sport mode and take tons of photos. But the photos she gets back are incredible, because she's a natural eye for photography and all sorts of stuff. While I'm fiddling around with things and swapping out lenses and stuff like that, and that used to cause me stress. So I was like, my phone does not cause me stress. I will use that. So I'm just really trying to eliminate barriers to creativity, and that's kind of why I shoot my phone.
It is really cool though to be able to take this little manual lens and go to a dance rehearsal or a basketball game where there's a lot of movement, and to be able to work that lens. I don't know, there's something about it. Or I know that I can easily just take out my phone and get everything. And not even have to think about it.
Well, I always say,
I really have to work at it. It's sort of nice.
I like the 50mm prime lens, for the Canon, I don't think you can substitute that.
That's what I use all the time.
I love it. I love it. I love it in video. I love it in things because it's quite personal. I did use my camera recently for something, and I really liked the image I got it because it was just nice and quiet. But I used that and I edited it with phone footage, and nobody noticed. But I just really wanted a specific type of shot, which was like a really tight close up of an artist. There's no substitute for that. And when he moved in and out of focus, and I loved it because he was moving and his focus was changing. But I just loved that. Yeah. I don't think there's a substitute for that. Although I will say, portrait mode on the iPhone 11 does a pretty damn good job of faking that. Yeah.
Is it doing it in video yet, or no? Is it
no. I think the one of the Samsungs has a video. I can't remember which one it is. Has like a video. It fakes it in the background. That gives you that effect, out of focus effect for video. Yeah. I can't remember which device it is. I did see it though, but I don't know which device it is. So it is something that does exist. But I still like the lens. It's so easy to use. You just walk towards something. You walk backwards. It's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get incredible results. And I don't think I'd trade that for anything. But other than that, I'll throw my camera in the bin and take my phone. Because it's just so much less stressful.
And I'm guessing you just use your phone. You don't use, some people use the Beast Grip and then they attach, regular lenses to it. And then you're almost working with a regular camera again.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't. It's funny. People talk awful lot of times talk in classes about lenses and stuff like that, and how an anamorphic lens for a phone is like the be all end all of human existence if you had one for your phone. But I don't. The funny thing, lenses are sort of becoming kind of redundant as well, because your phone now has multiple lenses. Like this update for Filmic Pro that allow you to shoot multiple video at once. I mean, you're able to shoot different lenses, access different lenses on the phone to shoot multiple things. So any phones I've had have had multiple lenses on it, like this. So it's very hard to attach lenses to that. Yeah. Because it triggers a sensor and it makes it so I don't. And when I do the beginner's class, I don't really show people lenses either. I talk about them because it becomes something that people assume they have to have. And the classes are really about, you don't need this, you really only need this, this, and this to get started. And one of the things that always bothered me when I was learning filmmaking was the thing you talked about earlier on, I think, about really good cameras, is that people were just sort of obsessed with how good their equipment was, and the strength of their equipment meant their film was really good, that their camera was really good. And you sort of see that seeping into the mobile world a little bit, where people think you need anamorphic lenses, people think you need a B-script, you think you need a certain type of gimbal. So you see it there. It's just the footage, the equipment is a lot cheaper. But again, all you need is a tripod, really, and a microphone. And even then, you don't need a tripod. You can use a stack of books or a coffee cup if you get stuck. You know what I mean? Right. But so it's kind of, I don't really use lenses that often. I have lenses. I have a lens kit somewhere around here, but I just don't really. I tend to just use. No, on an iPhone 8, when you put a nice mid lens on, it looks great, and stuff like that. But I generally don't tend to you in the stuff that I film. I don't need to be honest with you, because I do a lot of corporate-y stuff. My lenses I really liked when I had an iPhone 6. It was perfect. Yeah, and then it would have been ideal. And now it's not. Like now, when I put those lenses on this phone, it's just not the same. And so I find that I don't use them as much. Yeah, I mean, I do have an anamorphic, and I actually do like it. And I have a macro that I mean, because if you go to my Instagram, it's all macro. Oh, it's all macro photography. Yeah. And I just love it. I'm just totally obsessed with it. But what phone are you using? That 10R. And has it got multiple lenses on it? Yeah. As in, it's got like more. No, it's just got one. Oh, okay. See, lenses on the 6 and the 7 and stuff like that were incredible. Yeah, but I really wish I kept my 6. I really do. I was talking to a filmmaker on this a couple of weeks ago, and he just hoovers up 6s. If anyone's got a 6, they're throwing it away. He's like, give it to me, and he takes it and stockpiles them. So that's what I'm going to start doing. If anyone's watching this, ignore what I just said. Throw away your 6s and give them to me. Give them to me. I would like it back. Give them to us. Yeah, because I would love to. I'd love to use one and use my lenses that I have on it, and because you still get incredible footage from it. There's nothing wrong with the footage you get from it, but they just kind of made them obsolete. So I've been on the lookout for older model iPhones that I can use all this equipment with. The same way you would use an older camera with old lenses. Do you know what I mean? You would just have it to use. It still shoots great video. I'm assuming sooner or later it'll give you a certain look and a feel that you don't have on other newer phones. Give me your 6s. Give us your 6s. Yeah. Anyone's listening. Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna head now, so I can go back and edit all that footage. But thank you so much for this. It's been deadly. Thank you. Can you do? What's your SeaWorld video called? The SeaWorld? Sorry, what's the John Goodman? Is it SeaWorld? That one is St. Louis Aquarium. Not SeaWorld. St. Louis, I had SeaWorld. I have done stuff for SeaWorld. That's what I think you mentioned, SeaWorld. St. Louis Aquarium, I'm going to find that video, and I'm going to find a way to post it as well on stories so people can look at it. Yeah. Thank you. Cool. All right, well, perfect. Well, thanks for that. And best of luck with your last 4 festivals and the 10 festivals you haven't told your husband that you submitted to. And look forward to me maybe submitting this one to your festival next year if it turns out. Okay. I will do. Keep me posted, and I will make sure that I know it is there, and I'm championing the good word about it. I will. Thank you. Sure. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Same to you. Bye. 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 That's episode 2 in the bag. Thank you so much, Alexandra. That was very, very insightful. And I personally, was great to hear what it's like being a filmmaker on the festival side of things and have such positive experiences with festivals. That's it for episode 2, guys. You can tune in next week. We have another interview with an Irish filmmaker.
something a little bit more closer to home. But you can check us out. If you want to reach out to us at all, you can reach us at the Future Film Acad Instagram or the Dubsmart FF Instagram. You can fire us over some questions, or if you want to get involved or you want to talk all things filmmaking, let us know. Bye.